Hi there, this is Haida. Be sure to pause the next slide and review the instructions for navigating the module. It will help you to capture both big ideas and pause for details. Hello everyone, and welcome to Module 1, What Works in Adult ESL. I hope you're ready to engage some new ideas and adapt some old ones when you start to tutor one-to-one. We have some proven strategies for you to try out. Some of the ideas come out of a national study on what works in Adult ESL. Others are based on the lesson flow, which you may remember. In this module, we'll show you how to adapt the evidence-based practices that were developed for group instruction to a one-to-one tutoring context. So this is what you can expect in this module. First, we will show you a video that you may remember. It's called Coming to America and introduces us to the various backgrounds and experiences of adult ESL students. Notice the varied educational backgrounds of the students and the different goals that they bring to the learning process and to life in general. Next, we will explain how you can adapt the lesson flow and make it work in a one-to-one session. We'll share some research on what works as promised. And the most controversial of which, by the way, was the use of the native language with ESL students. We will have you, as you do with all the students, remember a few key points, and we will leave you with some resources to adapt to your own setting. Here is a quick overview of the key sections in Module 1. Remember, you can pause a slide at any time and take your time to read before you listen to the explanation. Also remember that the slide deck is on the English Forward website, and you can print up the slides and look at them later. Think about the diversity of immigrants and refugees coming to the United States, all with different backgrounds, dreams, and goals. Next is a video that has students tell their stories. We also have some questions for you to think about.
In a dynamic, often tumultuous world, one thing remains constant: the magnetic pull of the American dream. Each year, thousands of people make a bold decision to leave their homelands and immigrate to the United States. Many of them find their way to Central Texas. In this program, we'll meet 6 of these immigrants. Ikhlas, 34, is from Baghdad, Iraq. When life in her war-torn country became unbearable, she fled to the United States with her husband and 3 children. Olga, 48, moved to the U.S. from Tulancingo, Mexico, when she was 20 years old, looking for a better life. Now a grandmother, she recently acted on a lifelong dream to learn English and has plans for continuing her education. Vera is from Ekaterinburg, Russia. Vera was a television and theater producer in Russia, where she earned 2 degrees in the arts. She gave up her career in her homeland to provide a better life for her daughter, who now works as a model in Dallas. Primo, 47, is from Pinar del Rio, Cuba, situated in a region of mountain ranges and tobacco fields. Primo taught mathematics and physics in Cuba before moving to the U.S. with his family. He's studying English and hopes to one day teach again. Rusi, 49, is from the city of Uvira in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. She lived near beautiful Lake Tanganyika until tribal warfare forced her to move to the United States, where she now lives with her 6 children. Samuel, 27, is from Quetzaltenango, Guatemala. He came to the U.S. to look for work to help his impoverished family. He's learned enough English through a workplace literacy program to tend bar in a popular restaurant.
Take a quick look at these questions. Wouldn't it be fun to meet one of these students? I hope you get a chance to listen to their stories with others and discuss them. Next, let's look at one-to-one tutoring, some of the limitations, but also some of the advantages. You know that the English Forward approach supports group instruction, but we all know that sometimes a student cannot attend a class for whatever reason. Learning without a group is not ideal for second language acquisition. Let's look at some of the limitations of learning a language in a one-to-one context instead of in a class. But don't worry, right after that, we will also look at some of the advantages. As you can see here, a student who is not part of a class does not get the same opportunities to develop her English skills. But one-on-one tutoring also offers some distinct benefits. Let's look at some of these next. One of the greatest advantages of working one-to-one is the personal attention you are able to give a student. You can customize your lesson every day. And for students who don't know how to read and write in any language, or for those who have learning difficulties that cannot be addressed in a class, one-to-one tutoring might actually be the best option. You have seen the lesson flow in your training, and if you have used the English Forward curriculum, you have become quite familiar with each component. But what if you only teach one student and not a class? How can you make the lesson flow work for him or her? In the next section, we'll briefly review each step and tell you how to modify it for working with a single student. The next set of slides will give you a quick review of all the steps in the lesson flow. You can also check the English Forward Instructor's Guide for details. Each step will appear in red on the slide. This is what you do in step 1. Introduce your topic with a visual prompt or an object from your Realia toolkit. Say a few words about the topic, write a keyword on chart paper, and ask your student what other words she might know. For example, you might write house or city, and then capture related words such as apartment or traffic on a word web. When you present information, be sure you say a few sentences at a time so your student can see how ideas connect. This is an important step for preparing a student to understand radio broadcasts or lectures or other language input that uses connected speech. You probably ask your students a lot of personal questions already, and that's both important and really worthwhile. But students also need to pay attention to information that they hear and read. And you want to help them see how much they do or don't understand so they can focus in on details. Using true-false cards is a quick and easy way to do that even with one student. And it's fun too. We often assume that a student understands both the main idea and details, but you want to make sure that this is indeed true. Discuss the topic a bit more with your students, focusing on key concepts and not just opinions. Then double-check understanding. You could say something like, "Let's do a quick check to see how much you remember." A quick check of this sort will help your student develop listening comprehension skills and will show you what you need to review. In step 4, you get ready to set up whatever language task you want the student to do. Don't worry, we will give you lots of practical ideas on tasks that work for one-to-one tutoring later on in this module. Guided practice won't take long if you work with one student at a time. You simply say, let's try this task together, and then make sure your instructions for the tasks are clear. If not, go back and simplify, or try an easier starting point. Step 6, small group work, is the one step in the lesson flow that will require some planning and adjustment on your part. But if you are willing to act as a partner with your student, you can adapt to many of the English Forward activities. We will show you how to do that a little bit later in the module. Here are some things you might do in this step. Select vocabulary that has come up and review it with your student, perhaps doing some word study activities. Or maybe you notice pronunciation difficulties that your student needs help with. Here is also your chance to draw your student's attention to a grammar point from the lesson. Just remember that low-skilled students will find it much easier to understand patterns rather than grammar rules. You might highlight a past tense pattern, for example, writing, we worked and we talked. We asked questions and then we answered them. Just try not to mix up regular and irregular verbs at this point in a lesson. You want to focus on one aspect at a time and offer plenty of practice. Step 8 is where you end a lesson by summarizing key points and getting feedback from your student, rather than simply stopping when the time runs out. Of course, you could just ask, what did you learn today? What should we talk about next? What was easy? What was difficult for you? But sometimes it's helpful for both of you if the student writes down his thoughts. I'd like to spend a bit of time to tell you about the findings from a national study conducted by the American Institutes for Research and Literacy Work International, my little company. The study focused on what works for adult ESL students and involved 40 programs and over 400 students speaking 20 different languages. We observed classes, wrote down what teachers did, and related the instructional strategies the teachers used to students' scores on a variety of tests and assessment to determine which methods were the most successful. This slide gives you a quick summary of the teaching strategies that help students increase their English skills. We'll look at these one by one. Varied interaction and activities help learners get English in different ways. This doesn't mean you should use a mishmash of different activities. Tying tasks and activities together as part of a theme helps all students learn better. To vary interactions, you would do well by focusing on fluency during the first part of your lesson and then on accuracy in the How English Works segment. This will help your student acquire the English skills she needs. Next, you will hear about my favorite finding, bringing in the outside. You may want to pause the slide as it comes up and read the tips first before hearing why. We found in the study that teachers whose lessons focused on what their students needed to do in their daily lives and brought in real stuff were much more successful than teachers who simply relied on textbooks. So find out as much as you can about where and how and when your student needs English and select materials accordingly. Use your Realio toolkit and check out the toolkit generator on the English Forward website. It's very cool. Let's look at some examples from the toolkit. Keep in mind that later modules will have many more examples of how to increase both oral and written English skills using authentic materials. Don't forget to have your student bring in things from home, including utility bills, announcements from a child's school, brochures she might get in a clinic, or a flyer from a store. That should give you lots of things to discuss. Now let's watch a video. You'll see how Karen, a teacher in Chicago, helps her students understand and remember concepts that are important to them, the names of vegetables and how much they cost. Many of these students had gardens back home, and eggplant dishes were some of their very favorites. As you watch the video, you will notice that Karen works with a group. Can you imagine using similar strategies working with a single student? How would you adjust your strategy? What would you add, or would you skip anything?
What does it mean to pick? Pick. Did I pick these vegetables? Pick? Did I pick these?
No, you buy in the store.
That's right. On your flashcard, if there is a vegetable that you can't remember, so let's see. What's this? What's this? Oh, eggplant. Write it here in English. Eggplant. On the other side, write it in Bosnian. What's in Bosnian?
Patlıcan.
Huh?
Patlıcan.
Okay, so I will write eggplant.
Say, teacher, say.
I will.
Patlıcan.
I will write eggplant, and then I'll write patlıcan.
Oh, bravo. Very nice.
Okay? So I can say, eggplant, patlıcan, eggplant, patlıcan. So I can practice. Practice. Okay? Good job. Okay, I want to go to the next thing, and then we can have some more time later
Sale, sold.
to write our cards.
Sale, sold.
Sale. All right? A lot of times you get this paper from Jewel, and it says sale. Sale. What does that mean? Sale. So, yesterday, the peppers were $4. Today, the peppers are on sale. $2. Sale. Sale. Half price. Oh, half price sale.
As you watch the video, you'll notice that Karen works with a group. Can you imagine using similar strategies when you work with only one student? How would you adjust your strategy? Would you add something or skip anything? This was our most controversial finding. When bilingual teachers used the native language strategically and sensibly, students showed higher gains in English than in classrooms where only English was used. It stands to reason. If the teacher briefly explains something in a language everyone understands, attention and comprehension increase. That way, the student can focus on the task at hand instead of being confused by an explanation in English she doesn't fully understand. But what if you don't speak the language your student speaks? What can you do then? Don't worry, we'll have some ideas for you a bit later. But first, let's look at the different ways the bilingual teachers in the study used the native language in the beginning ESL class. As the next slide comes up, go ahead and pause it so you can absorb the ideas. Then continue to listen to the explanation. To see the first strategy used in a real classroom, watch the video that comes next. It shows Roseanne, a teacher in Socorro, Texas, preview her lessons in Spanish for a very low-level class of Spanish speakers. The students are all displaced workers with very little confidence in their own ability to understand English. Hearing the lessons previewed in their own language will help these students to focus on the English tasks that are at the core of the lessons that follow.
Okay, students, hoy vamos a comenzar lecciones en que la tema habla de jobs, de trabajos, ¿ok? La lección de hoy es el primer lección porque vamos a hablar de su primer trabajo, ¿sí? De su primer trabajo. Your first job, ¿ok? I know, I know, that's okay. No lo estudiaron, that's fine. Es una lección. Lo vamos a estudiar hoy, ¿ok? Lo que vamos a comenzar esta lección enseñándole fotos de personas en sus diferentes trabajos, ¿ok? Quiero que vean las fotos y yo les voy a hacer preguntas sobre qué trabajo tienen, qué trabajo hacen, ¿ok? Maybe qué están haciendo. Preguntas así, ¿sí? In English. Again, yo voy a preguntar en inglés y me gustaría que ustedes estuvieran entendiendo, escucharon y traten de contestar en la manera que puedan. Ready?
Do you agree with these findings? Why or why not? Go ahead and pause the video and read these tips. Which strategy do you think you might like to try? And don't forget to share your ideas with others. I'm hoping that you already noticed how many small group tasks from English Forward can be adapted to one-to-one tutoring. You just need to be willing to be a partner in the learning process. The tables on the next 3 slides offer ideas on adapting the English Forward curriculum units for use with a single student. They are chock full of examples and therefore a bit text-heavy. So please pause each slide so you can take in the details and think about them. You may want to print up these slides from the PowerPoint deck that's on the English Forward website. Where you start and how you move through the lessons will of course depend on your students' interests and needs, and your own. Are there any particular topics that you feel passionate about and are dying to teach? Are there other subjects or topics that you think your student might enjoy discussing? You can certainly extend any English Forward lesson into a new direction. Or you can use the lesson flow to create a whole new unit. Who knows what you will discover? Here is something else to keep in mind. When you teach one student at a time, your role is likely to change from being the sage on the stage in front of a class to the guide on the side as a tutor to your student. And we will leave you with a couple of resources that will give you more information on how to teach Adult ESL. For my money, the handbook by my friend Betsy Parrish is one of the best books on the market. And the Center for Applied Linguistics has a wide array of documents on their website, all dealing with various aspects of Adult ESL. Happy reading!